Happy Wednesday, family. Welcome to WWT Live. And on today's show, NXT has got a brand new home. What does that do for the NWA? And we've got an early look at what WrestleMania week is going to look like. All of that and more today on WWT Live.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Well, happy Wednesday, family. It's good to see everybody. I am the professor. They call me Gerard Bonner around these parts. And it is great to be back with everybody here as part of WWT Live, as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And we have a jam-packed show going on. There's a lot of news talk about, and of course we're going to be talking about all of it, but I am not alone. In fact, I've got a couple of brothers joining us from across the pond. First up, it's the good brother Scan. How are you, man?
How you doing, man? You caught me doing something very British with my cup of tea. Very happy to be here, man. It's always love.
Absolutely. It's great to have you, man. I'm looking forward to connecting with you for sure. And then you happen to share a podcast called The Mega Powers with another of our hosts today, and that is DJ Magic J. How are you, sir?
I'm cool. While he's drinking tea and you just come back from my country, Jamaica, I have to drink the Mighty Malt.
Now, what do you have there?
Mighty Malt, straight from Jamaica. Grace's food. Mighty Malt.
Mighty Malt. Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Jamaican drink.
Okay. Very good. How often do you get over to Jamaica?
Oh, I ain't been since I was a kid. The last time I went to the Caribbean was Barbados, and that was 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay, so before the pandemic.
Long overdue.
Okay, yeah. You should make your way back. That's for sure. Well, most of you guys know that I went away for a little bit, so some fun over there. And I don't know, I might wait till the boss lady comes to see if we talk about that, because there's other news, far more pressing news. In fact, kind of our first big item is the future of NXT. Scan, you want to tell us about where NXT is headed in 2024?
Wow, so they've just got a new deal with the CW, man. It's very exciting times. We can all see that NXT is definitely stepping up from their time on the WWE network. So we're to the world, it's looking like they're a real competitor. I see WWE is really trying to put a lot of stock behind NXT now. So we kind of want to see like a really strong third brand, and this is definitely making waves to make that happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. And when you start thinking about how significant this is, NXT originally considered a developmental brand, and then it went through that period during Black and Gold where it literally became a third brand. And then there was NXT 2.0, and now we're back at this particular space, which, the growth of NXT to go from the WWE network to USA here in the States, and now to be on broadcast television, is a major move. One of the pieces of news in terms of business connected to it is it's being reported that they're going to be gaining more than double of their current contract. And the current contract for NXT is pulling in about $15 million a year from the network. So we're talking at least $30 million a year, which makes this a no-brainer. Plus, with the CW being on broadcast television, it gets you into even more homes than the USA Network would, with it being a cable network. So this is a really big move.
Warner Bros. is pushing as well. So it's all the Warner Bros. Family. So that is definitely a good deal for them, and something bright for the future for NXT.
Yeah, it is quite the future for NXT. And again, to be on broadcast television is a really big deal because, kind of here in the States, I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but in the States, there's kind of your broadcast and network TV, and then there's cable, which people would clearly pay for. Then there are tiers of cable. So to be on broadcast would literally be like if you have an antenna you can get
Yeah.
NXT, which is a major situation.
So we got a company in the UK, but obviously we got our, providers, like Sky, and we got Virgin Media and other providers. So that is definitely on the provider list what we have to pay for. So that is definitely going to be a uplift for the UK, whoever, and for the fans who likes to watch wrestling.
Yeah, and so what I don't know is what this will do in terms of where it will air in the UK, if that'll change anything or not. I'm not exactly sure about that, but certainly on the US side, it's a pretty crazy moment to say the least. And so shout out to our folks in the chat. Bobby, we see you, the connoisseurs of hip hop, see you as well. Happy for NXT. They're going to the CW, and Boza, I see you as well. Made you laugh because, yeah, the CW was talking to both the NXT and the NWA, and that's true because the NWA a couple of weeks ago, in fact, you might remember that Billy Corgan went on to Busted Open Radio and told the world that indeed the NWA was in talks with a major network for 2 shows, and it would come out that it was the CW. So needless to say, the NWA isn't exactly happy about this particular moment. And they're not happy for obvious reasons. And so apparently the NWA was caught off guard by this. One talent said that they were blindsided by the news of NXT now being on the CW, which you can imagine probably means that we're not going to be seeing NWA Power on the CW anytime soon. So joining us right now, he's out in those streets. It's the good brother Said. How are you, Said?
I didn't expect to get an intro that fast. I was trying to get to a quiet space, but it's good. It's Wednesday. Post NXT, everything's great. How's everybody doing today?
Absolutely,
blessed,
man.
Good to see you, bro.
And hey, Professor, welcome back. How was Jamaica?
Man, Jamaica was an entire vibe. Like, it was a really special moment. And shout out to everybody who tuned in to the live stream Saturday night to watch the show from All Caribbean Wrestling. It's called Mobe Bash. And if you guys didn't get a chance to see it, you can certainly check it out right now on, well, not right now because you're watching us, but when we're done, you can check it out on the YouTube page for All Caribbean Wrestling. So Said, let me get your thoughts firstly on NXT now going to the CW in 2024, and then your thoughts on what this does for the NWA.
Interesting. So the CW thing is actually very cool because I feel like that's my era of SmackDown, kind of from high school through college. So, and for a lot of people who watch, it's probably the blackest era of WWE that ever existed. So we might be going back to that, which is really cool. And I think it just gives you a chance for like people who have kind of cut the cord from cable and things like that to actually be able to experience WWE programming. So you'll probably bring in more viewership, more of an audience, more casual fans. For NWA, I think, honestly, that's the biggest question here in lieu of everything that's happened with them in light of some things they've done in the past couple of weeks. But NWA's loss is WWE's gain because they slide right in with a bigger brand, bigger reach of fans. So, and for NXT, with the momentum we've just seen in the past year, from really going back to the age of legitimizing them as a third brand, it's a phenomenal move, especially for the superstars of tomorrow, to get that exposure with more of an audience. So, like, I think for NXT alone, a lot of these superstars that are just seen as next up and coming, they won't be relative unknowns once they get to the main roster anymore. You won't have to see that transition of building them up because they'll be made names just from this move alone.
Right. And interestingly enough, to your point, which I hadn't thought of, for those who don't have cable, and in the States, it is really popular right now to kind of cut the cord and get rid of cable because cable has become so expensive. It's a crazy thought to think that for some, if this is the only WWE programming they get to see on television, they may actually become more familiar with these stars than they will with some of perhaps the mid-carders on current WWE television, which I think ultimately ends up being a great thing for NXT and for everyone else involved. So this is pretty exciting. This is pretty exciting. Let me ask you this, Scan, and yeah, I'll ask you first, and then I'll go to you, DJ Magic J. What do you think happens with the NWA now? Now that this CW deal for them seems to be gone, because there's no way that they're going to be two different brands of pro wrestling on a station like the CW.
I mean, you'd like to think there's another network out there that will pick them up, because I guess the product is, is pretty good. It's a nice alternative, studio-based wrestling. But I really hope they do. I think they've put the work in the last few years. It'd be unfortunate for them to not get picked up by anybody. So yeah, hopefully someone will be their knight in shining armor and come and rescue them in the fourth quarter.
That'd be nice. DJ Magic J, your thoughts?
As what Scan said, because obviously they are a legendary franchise, they're a legendary company, and they birthed a lot of the wrestlers, that we see today, where it's on the Impact to AEW and Ring of Honor, and even some who've gone over to WWE. So there's going to be a company was going to definitely pick them up. But, as what they say, money talks, BS walks. So at the same time, that's why WWE put NXT over there, because of, the money talks. But there's definitely going to be a company was going to pick them up, no word of a doubt.
For sure. Let's run through some of these comments here, because lots of people are talking. Jeffrey says that NWA fumbled the bag, and I'm going to address that in just a second. Let's see. Dylan, good to see you, buddy. No quiet space in the streets was said. Understood.
Hey, that's a good one, man. I got to give it to you on
that. Thank you, Jeffrey and Dylan. It's good to be back. Dylan says NWA will stand for never wrestling again. That's funny. Bobby says, I could see the NWA staying on YouTube until they can get the deal. It's interesting, though, Bobby, because if you remember in that same interview with Busted Open, Billy Corgan really trashed YouTube and said that they're a really bad network to work with for pro wrestling. So I'm really interested to see how they will respond now that it looks like this particular deal isn't happening. Boza says, I think them going to CW will be a great deal for NXT. They won't have to depend on the main roster stars to bring eyes to NXT. Well, so here's the thing. There's a part of me, because I know here in the chat, there's been a lot of question in terms of why have there been so many main roster stars on NXT. And I think part of it has to do with they've been shopping NXT. And I think also part of the allure is that there will still be some main roster presence on NXT, because I think the way they're being used actually works. It's not overbearing, it's not over the top. We still don't have at this point a main roster star as the NXT champion. And so, for instance, Dominic holding the North American title makes a lot of sense as opposed to him holding the NXT championship. Becky holding the women's title for that brief period made sense for what it was she was accomplishing. So
what else makes sense?
What's that?
The crossover now with Alpha Academy going there now, because you just called up the Creeds and Ivy Nile, so there's no overlap with them on Raw.
Absolutely. So we're gonna dig into that in just a little bit as well, because that was some big news coming from Monday night. So definitely a big time move for NXT heading to the CW, and we'll talk even about what happened on NXT as well. But before we do that, there was some late breaking news that we want to get into, and that is WrestleMania 40. The events and the dates have officially been released. So, of course, WrestleMania is taking place in Philly in April of 2024. We now know of the dates for the Hall of Fame. We know about the dates for NXT Stand and Deliver, and Raw, the Monday night, or the Raw after Mania, which, of course, is one of the most important episodes of Monday Night Raw of the year. So it's going to be really significant. And here's how that weekend's going to go down. Friday night, April the 5th, will be SmackDown and then the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Saturday night will be or Saturday, I should say, will be NXT Stand and Deliver. Sunday, of course, will be, well, actually Saturday and Sunday. So that means early Saturday will be Stand and Deliver. Saturday evening, Sunday evening will be WrestleMania's night 1 and 2. And then on Monday, you have Monday Night Raw, April the 8th. The tickets there's actually a pre-sale opportunity for a 3-day combo ticket that will start next Wednesday. That's a week from today at 10 a.m. Eastern. And you can actually register at WWE.com for that. And then on sale combo tickets will be available next Friday, November the 17th at Ticketmaster for all of these spaces. So if you're looking to go to WrestleMania week, these are all of the WWE sanctioned events. And I say that because there will also be other cards from other promotions going on WrestleMania week. But it looks like it's going to be incredible in Philly. Are any of you guys planning on being at WrestleMania this year or this coming year?
Well, I think me and Magic J have manifested it. So we're it's definitely in our prayers.
Awesome.
So yeah, we'd love to be there for WrestleMania 40. We're just gonna figure out how, but we will. We're very positive with it.
For sure. Said man, you gonna make the trip?
According to the real TK, I'm already on tap to be working out here, so I guess I don't have a choice. But I look at this slate and I'm sleepy just looking at it, because if you ever done a WrestleMania week, it's really a nonstop thing. And when Professor says there's other outside events, those are things you really don't want to miss. I'm talking about your meet and greets, your chances to meet superstars on the side, other promotions. Wale Mania is a big thing, and the way that, and I think I've been vocal. I'm not a fan of 2-night WrestleMania, and one of the main reasons is kind of NXT kind of gets kind of scrunched in there, and the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame used to be a bigger ordeal. It's kind of been downsized, and if you went to Mania this year in LA, I'm still upset because I missed like half the Stand and Deliver card because it had traffic to get to, and the show was at like 10 a.m. So that just makes it even more difficult to go see those stars. So you have to plan for an afternoon of the big show and still come early. Back in the day, NXT's big show used to be Saturday night. So I just wish they would kind of massage that a little bit, because it makes it very hard to get to everything you want to enjoy.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a part of me that almost wishes, because you could sort of fix this if they put either of those events on Thursday night, and so you could potentially do Hall of Fame Thursday night, or you could do NXT Stand and Deliver Thursday night, then go into Friday with SmackDown. The Hall of Fame thing, it's interesting because, if you've ever attended a Hall of Fame, it can be interesting because, certainly in days gone by, they didn't produce it well for TV. So they didn't give time limits for acceptance speeches and things like that. So everybody probably remembers the infamous Mr. T acceptance speech that, went on and on like an Erykah Badu song. But the truth of it is, it was one of those spaces where Vince had to come out and go, all right, enough's enough, So they really do try to put some parameters on it. But for fans, again, to sit for 4 hours, I think is kind of tough too. So ultimately, if you're going, and this is going to be kind of a hack for anybody who's going to WrestleMania week, you really need to plan it out very, very well, because it's impossible to hit every event. It's just impossible, particularly if you like indie wrestling. If you like indie wrestling, they really put on during WrestleMania week. So there's a lot going on there. But anyway, make your plans. I'm laughing at Jeffrey because the famous I Love My Mama on Arbor Day, on Valentine's Day, that was Mr. T all day, every day. So, yeah, so if you're planning on getting to WrestleMania, those are the plans. Again, tickets go on sale next week. Now let's head back to NXT, because NXT had a bit of a big night last night as we started getting prepped for NXT's next PLE, which is Deadline. And
why is Dragon Lee still on this poster?
Yeah. That's a great question because he is definitely not in NXT anymore. So they should probably take him off of there. But we found out our first two qualifiers last night. One for the women's not the women's main event match, but for the women's Iron Survivor Challenge match, and then for the men's Iron Survivor Challenge match. On the men's side, Dijak qualified. On the women's side, Tiffany Stratton qualified. And so I want to get your thoughts on, kind of this whole qualification that's going to happen for the Iron Survivor Challenge. What are you thinking about that, Scan?
Man, about the Iron Survivor, I think I need at least a few more years to get my head around that match. It's
okay.
Yeah. But I'm not mad at it. It looks like it's coming together nicely. Yeah, it's still early days. I don't really have any thoughts of who I think the final lineup will be just yet. So okay. I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy the content.
Cool. Magic J, what are your thoughts?
To me, I've been reading up and watching it, and the best wrestler gets to the finals, man. Let's see what could definitely happen. This is something new. This is something refreshing, especially for NXT. So let's see what happens, in the final moments of the final matches.
For sure. So what's interesting is they will also have Hall of Famers who will announce these qualifying matches. So Mick Foley announced this week's matches. They will also have Hall of Famers such as Lita, as well as Jerry the King Lawler. He will be involved, as will JBL, in announcing the upcoming qualifying matches for this Iron Survivor Challenge. Sed, what are your thoughts on involving these Hall of Famers in picking these upcoming matches?
I think it's cool. And I think it's a little bit different last year, because I believe last year was the first year for the Iron Survivor. And they kind of did a thing where the Hall of Famers just roundtabled and picked their 5 together. This year, we actually have qualifying matches. So we're getting more of an investment into the Iron Survivor. And this is actually good, because the Iron Survivor is possibly the next best thing, since we're not going to have War Games exclusive in NXT any longer. And quite frankly, that's a good thing, because you're saving me from a Brawling Brutes versus Out the Mud War Games match, which nobody wants. But here's my only gripe with the Hall of Famers this year. It's because they're going to try to be sneaky and slide Lita in here. Like, we didn't see Lita get snuffed a few months ago and nobody did nothing about it. Like, this is her first on-camera appearance, and we're not going to do the whole Trish thing. We're just supposed to forget. You just healthy, and now you picking matches. Don't insult my intelligence, WWE. Don't do that. Don't skip steps.
I'm with you.
So
I am totally with you.
But they had to get a Hall of Famer to pick WWE matches for the women's side, so I get that. So as far as the final pool, I think Stratton is an awesome choice. I think Dijak is an awesome choice because he's a vet. You want to have a vet in that match. Last year they had no vets. It was kind of like the next up for the men's thing, and then Grayson Waller won it. For the women's side of the thing, I would actually, since maybe Stratton is that vet, I would like to see more people who were in the women's breakout tournament be in this match. So your Jada Parkers, your Carmen Petrovich's, your Ariana Grace's be in this Iron Survivor. Because if it's truly about getting a shot, because the theory of this match is really just like a 5-way Iron Man match. Most pinfalls wins. That's literally the theory. And then you have a penalty box involved if you get pinned. That's really all it is. Yeah. So hopefully we see some new blood this year in the match. That's my only hope.
Yeah, I think it should be very, very interesting, and some very interesting comments that are out here. Let's see. Bobby says, I like that Mick Foley picked Tiffany Stratton versus Fallon Henley and Dijak versus Tyler Bate. Yeah, those were good choices. And I'm interested to see who Lita will pick. I am as well. Let's see. Boza says Tiffany versus Fallon had to be the women's qualifier. They were supposed to meet at Halloween Havoc. He thought that Fallon should have beaten Tiffany. That's interesting. Dijak was
I think so too, but I know why. I understand, but yeah, she probably should have got that win.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's see. Boza also says I can see her picking Becky Lynch versus Xia Li. As a NXT qualifier. That's interesting. And Trick versus Alexis King, or Lexus King, rather. That should be interesting as well. Bobby says Lita will pick Kiana James to wrestle against someone. That would be interesting. Let's see. So some interesting choices out here. Of course, we'll know sometime between now and next week who will end up getting that call. Meanwhile, let's ask, because, you know, everybody's talking about it, and we may have gotten some breadcrumbs last night. We might not have. Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes. Scan, where are we with this? What are your thoughts?
Man, I think, you know, a lot of my close friends of mine, they're really eagerly anticipating the whoop that trick at WrestleMania 40. So you know, the guy's got superstar written all over him, man. I really didn't see it coming. I thought he was literally just a background guy, but the way he's just evolved in recent months, you know, I'm excited. But I kind of think he should go over, man. You know, I think he's got a lot more to give. I want to see him develop, and he's a potential superstar.
So do you think that Mello is the one that attacked Trick, or do you think it's someone else?
Oh, I don't know if I could. It's too obvious, man. It's too obvious. You know, some people have said it might be the King guy, but yeah, okay. I'm not quite sure, man. I'm gonna pass that one to Magic J.
You know what? Honestly, you're right. The way things panned out yesterday in the ring when he came out, and then when came out after and said and shooting hints. I don't think it was you, or is it? But do you know what? It could be any of them two. You know what I mean. So to me, I like Trick Williams. I like how he calm. I like his you know, his background. You know, God knows who he got trained by, but you know, he's got a sneaky something coming. I don't know if you don't agree with me, but there's something sneaky about him that he's trying to butter up my man to do him over later on, and then obviously go to the main roster.
Said, what do you think? Do you think Mello did this, or are we being trolled at this point?
You know what? I'm gonna throw you a curveball, because I think I might be the only person on the planet that's getting tired of talking about Trick and Mello, because I don't think Mello did it at all. I have way more pressing questions that need to be answered, like what's going on with Dante Chen and Boa and all this face paint.
Did you see them Ava Raine
the second week in a row? What did Ava Raine go to Shawn Michaels' office about? Or even better, where does Lexus King find a leather jacket that doesn't have pockets? These are questions that I need answers to. I need questions. I need these answered before we get back to Trick and Mello, because you're not going to keep planning these things and I see them visually every week. But no, I don't think Mello did it. This is the one occasion where I think HBK is calling back certain things, and this isn't that. I don't think Mello did it, because lo and behold, I know whenever these two go to the main roster together, they have a pending invitation to join Bobby and the Prophet. So I don't think a split or a brief rivalry would do them justice, because we know them as a pair so far. I think since we're seeing these random, and I don't think Lexus King did it either. I think these random promos we're getting from Gacy lead straight to Gacy, because it fits that character mold all the way.
I like that. I like that. And the people have quite a bit to say over here. Let's see. Boza says it's clear that HBK loves to revisit his favorite storylines. If Mello is innocent, it'll be interesting to see who did attack Trick. And Jeffrey says the look that Mello gave when the camera zoomed in told us all we need to know. Or did it?
Yes, sir.
Or did it? That's the question. Dylan says that Mello did it and paid Lexus King to take the fall. And let me tell you what I think. I think we're going to get a Rikishi situation where he says, I did it for The Rock. You know, I did it for Mello. Somebody is going to eventually, and I think what's going to happen is Trick is going to go after whoever the person was, and we won't find out to say February or March that Mello was behind it. Melo didn't put his hands on it, but this is because I think it's too early to get this match now. We got to get this match at Stand and Deliver. And so if we get too much of it now, it won't work for sure. Let's see. Now, this is a pressing question, Jeffrey. Did Xia Li see Boa in the background as well? Because, you know, there's all that whole connection from before. So this will be interesting. Yeah,
but keep Wendy Chu far away from that. Her character range has evolved way too good to go back to that.
I agree. So here's another question. What if Ava went to Shawn Michaels' office to talk to him about something? Well, I'm sure she did. The question is, what did she go to talk to him about? That's the question.
Probably trying to get him in this. You know what? I can get behind her being in the Iron Survivor match.
I can too.
A match where she doesn't have to carry the weight of everybody and just be a part of the field of five. That makes so much sense.
I agree. Dylan, Lexus King did it for Bret Michaels with poison tickets. That's great. That is great. And Jeffrey says we need video evidence, the grainy footage. I think that's coming. It's going to be.
That's going to be the anonymous. Who's the person that goes on Twitter and does the film? The anonymous NXT. Yeah.
NXT Anonymous, I think, is coming, and I think they're going to have something fun for us. So from the space of NXT, we go back to Monday Night Raw, because Monday Night Raw started really giving us some things, of course, a couple of nights after Crown Jewel. We now have a picture for what we can start to see at the Survivor Series. And one of the matches that's coming is the first War Games match, which should be interesting. It's the Judgment Day taking on Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins. So I want to get your thoughts on this being the men's Survivor Series match for Chicago. Scan, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it kind of looks a bit off balance, man. I have this theory that like JD is gonna get blindsided and replaced by Drew McIntyre. But isn't the War Games supposed to be 5-on-5? So maybe we may get another edition to these.
It depends. Some years it's been 4-on-4. Some years it's been 5-on-5. So we'll see if they opt to do a 5-on-5 situation this year.
I think the other year that was 4-on-4 was the Undisputed Era versus the others. Yeah.
Yep. So like last year, I definitely think it was 5-on-5. So yeah, they just flip it back and forth. So it could be interesting. Magic J, what do you think about this men's Survivor Series War Games match?
Well, as what Scan said, you know, I hear what you're saying, but like, you know, JD is gonna slip up. Gathering, I love what these guys are doing. I love the Judgment Day. You know, these are my guys, but JD's gonna slip up, and obviously these other guys here is gonna win, innit? You know what I mean? But it's gonna be a good battle. It's gonna be a long-lasting battle. They're gonna be kicking each other's heads in. You know, I'm just keeping it real 100. But something's gonna happen with JD, and JD is gonna flop and give, you know, these guys Damn, someone's doing Formula One over there.
Yeah, I can't see Drew McIntyre not being a part of this.
And so which side do you think he's going to be on?
Oh, it has to be the heels, man, because the babyface team just looks too strong right now.
Okay. Sid, what are your thoughts on this one?
Professor, I think you know me long enough that this like boils my blood as a Survivor Series purist. That I like to see traditional 5-on-5s and a little bit of bragging rights. We're missing out on champion versus champion with Rollins and Reigns because of this. But in lieu of all that, with so much speculation that is going on with the Survivor Series card, and we know there's a certain Chicago kid that they're expecting. I don't expect that this match. I do think that Drew McIntyre will make a business decision to kind of counteract everything that Seth has going on, maybe a pending beef with Cody for bringing in Jay. And then I think this is a situation where Cody can kind of call in that that Randall favor, because I know we have Orton set to come back sometime soon. But I kind of think that backfires for the heroes here, because last time I checked, Randall had beef with the Bloodline. So I see him kind of taking Jay out the equation if he's even involved in that match. So, but I think we do see this expand to 5-on-5. I think there's no way you can get around that. The more interesting question is if they were to do a women's War Games, like who's going to be the leaders of that, and how do they flesh that one out?
Well, we will get into that in just a second, but much like War Games is expanding potentially from 4-on-4 to 5-on-5, we're about to expand to number 5. Joining us is De La. If I can get this, there we go. De La, how are you, sir?
I am good. I just got done yelling at a bunch of middle schoolers. How are y'all today?
My man finally showed up to work. I'm a happy guy here. This makes me happy.
Oh.
This is great. So
I literally was going to call him after this. I don't even have to. He's here. Like, this is great.
That's funny. That's funny.
Well, so my bad, Mr. Mayor.
The question. Oh wow. The question to you, sir, is all right. What? Oh boy, here we go. Jack. Jack.
We're live, pal.
This is so we'll keep it moving. De La, what are your thoughts on Survivor Series, this War Games match potentially?
It's got to be 5-on-5. It feels right if it's 5-on-5. It's already bad enough we don't have a roof on top of the cage. So now who's the 5th? I don't know. I could see the case for Drew Mack, but if you put Drew Mack, then how do you balance the other side? So I'm weirdly holding out hope that somehow that whole little tease of an alliance between the Bloodline and the Judgment Day pays off. Maybe Mommy calls up the wise man, and goes, "Hey, I need a favor. Maybe we send this Solo instead of Jimmy. Send Solo in." And then they're like, all right, cool. Cody's like, I got one. Randall Keith Orton.
I like it. Or
if we just want pure chaos, cue Coda personality.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, as you can imagine, there are lots of ideas out here. Special Little Nobodies says, I love how almost everyone has a storyline going, and I like that too. That's definitely a good thing. There's lots of talk about Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. This could get interesting, which reminds me, I thought I saw something. Dylan, it's your birthday today?
Yes,
it is.
Sir? Dylan, I did say we would acknowledge you again because we told you happy birthday last week. So happy birthday, sir. Our unofficial producer.
For our unofficial
man.
Producer.
My fellow Scorpio, man. You love to see it.
Yes. So happy birthday to you, kind sir. Thank you for all that you do, because you do so much for us. Oh my gosh, you do so much. So let's see. Connoisseurs of hip hop says that the baby faces look too strong. A swerve is coming. And Jeffrey says, I'm ready to see Dominic get his butt kicked. That'd be funny. Bobby says, what if Kevin Owens is in this match? Hey, it's not unheard of for him to be a last minute addition to a War Games match. He certainly did that. I believe it was 2019 when he did that for the NXT team. Let's see. Dylan says, if Phil pulls up, he gets his own moment not to join a team. So you think he'll just come in on his own and not be part of a team?
See, I disagree with that, because here's the thing with Phil Brooks. Phil Brooks is going to make the moment his moment, period. So let's think about it. It's 5-on-4. Cody's been like, I got something. They're getting beat down. War Games doesn't start till the 5th man comes in. It's a 10-minute beat down. Hit Coda personality. Blow the roof off, whatever. It works.
That moment is so better served for like the Shinsuke Open Challenge, though. As much as I'm tired of seeing Shinsuke take back seats to people, that's a good moment for Shin.
Shin don't need another L right now either, but
he definitely doesn't need another L.
I think it's out of our control at this point, unfortunately. He should have went over Seth.
Well, I agree with that too.
Should have.
I do agree with that, but Wow, this is interesting. This is very, very interesting. There's a part of me that almost wants to dig into this CM Punk potential conversation. I don't know. I don't know if we
My
should
bad.
save that for no, because we do know at least something else concrete about the Survivor Series, and that is a match for the Women's World Championship as Zoe Stark won the Battle Royal to earn an opportunity against Rhea Ripley at Survivor Series. I saw you rubbing your hands there, DJ Magic J. What are your thoughts on this one?
You know what? I was so surprised that she won it, because out of all the contenders who was in that ring, she was the last person I thought that was going to win it. But I see where they're going with this, But she ain't gonna beat the mommy, man. Mommy's gonna whoop her ass, and send her packing. I'm just keeping it real, man. But she done well to get that opportunity.
Scan, what do you think?
I think this is a great rub for Zoe, just her being there, in a position to at Survivor Series in a singles match, that alone is, that's the greatest participation prize you can get, I don't think she's really got a chance of winning this one, but she's gonna put on a good showing, and she's gonna, it's gonna be some really good near falls. But I've got Mummy for this one.
Mommy.
Okay. De La, what do you think?
Oh man, this man said greatest participation prize you can get. This match is gonna be like a good drink. Stiff. It's gonna be stiff. It's gonna be physical. It might steal the show. Because Zoe Stark can go, Rhea can go. You put up with a perfect dance partner, it'll be good. They'll make us believe. But yeah, no, Mommy retains.
Said.
Yeah, styles make fights. And I think Zoe presents the most interesting style that Rhea hasn't seen yet. And I look at this like LA Knight versus Roman Reigns. This is kind of your measuring stick to see if you can hang at the top of the mountain in case you ever do finally get that title push. So I think Zoe puts up a good fight. Rhea ultimately wins. And this will be just the first series of Rhea actually taking each one of the women she faced in that 5-way one-on-one. Because I think ultimately we have to do Rhea versus Nia Jax. I know they want to do like a big Rhea versus Raquel showcase. That's just coming down the pipe. So good on Zoe for actually getting the first one-on-one shot out of what we saw last week.
For sure. And again, tons of I just love there's so many comments that are hanging here. Sendiel, good to see you again. Says it's crazy that Io Sky is the only full-time champion on SmackDown and is probably the only one that appears until Night of Champions. Okay.
Never looked at it like
that. Women's Survivor Series match, and both teams try to get Jade services. Now, I definitely think, Dylan, there's going to be a women's match, and I would not be surprised if they're all chasing after Jade's services, since we haven't heard or seen Jade on TV since last week on Halloween Havoc, which is almost surprising. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. Let's see. Bobby says, one day I'd like to see Rhea versus Ivy Nile. I would like to see that too at some point. And we're going to get to the Ivy Nile story in a second. So Dylan says Rhea versus Zoe is like the Australian cricket team versus Johnny Barstow in the Ashes this year. Do the UK guys understand that one? Y'all understand that one?
So yeah.
I don't really follow cricket, but I get a rough idea of what he was saying with that one.
Okay, Dylan thought you guys would understand that, so I feel better now.
that felt backhanded.
Yeah. JD,
like
good
that.
to see you. Rhea is gonna Thanos snap this Stark. That's funny. Let's see. Cindy O says, I get a feeling that the SmackDown Women's War Games match is Io and Kyrie's faction against an alliance of Bianca, Bailey, etc. That's interesting. It's a very interesting idea.
I think Bailey will
And
still be on the heel side for the time being, though. You can't overstack that team
yeah,
because
yeah,
Dakota still can't wrestle.
true. And I hear she's not supposed to be able to go at least until top of the year. So
Yeah.
that should definitely be interesting. But I'm excited to see how this Survivor Series is certainly shaping up, because it is shaping up to be something special. So we've alluded to this a couple of times, but congratulations are definitely in order for the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile. We saw them last week make their debut on Monday Night Raw with a big win over Alpha Academy. Then this week, the Creed brothers get a big win over DIY, and we find out that all three of these talents have signed a deal to Monday Night Raw, with Ivy Nile immediately getting put in the women's battle royal and ended up in the top final four. So that was pretty exciting. I want to get your thoughts, guys, because this is the second NXT talent, and I put that in quotes because the first being Dragon Lee, second NXT talent since the draft that has made their way onto Raw or SmackDown, again, without a draft. I want to get your thoughts on WWE's decisions to bring these particular talents up outside of the draft. What are your thoughts on that, Scan?
I think it's great. I was just having a think. It's interesting that they've called it Creed Brothers and Ivy now. Does that mean that Diamond Mine doesn't exist anymore, or I've heard them mention the name? So what's the
Diamond
status of-
Mine been gone since Stokely been gone.
Oh.
That's more
So
like he was more so like their management leader. So then Roddy left. So they still claim it, but I don't think they put it out in the front though.
Right. Okay.
I got
But
you.
other than that, I think it's a great signing. They didn't really have anything else to do in NXT, so it was about time they got the call up.
Yeah.
They're a phenomenal tag team. You know what I mean? I've been watching them for a little while now properly, and they done really great. I'm just surprised that Bron Breakker didn't get an opportunity into the main roster. That's my guy right there. The Steiner family. I love those guys. But for these guys to come up, kudos to them.
Daylight, what do you think?
I actually kind of like it this way better, because if you come up in the draft, it's almost like we have a plan for like a couple weeks, and then we kind of got to figure it out. You come up this way, this is more organic. It's like, all right, here's the slot where we can slide you in. Let's run with this long term. Also, it's only one unit, one person, versus like 6, 5, 4 NXT call-ups all coming up at once that you got to work in. Zoe Stark, nice placement. Dragon Lee, perfect. Creed Brothers and Ivy Now, this is perfect. You had the showcase. It's like, okay, they can hang. You go back to NXT, wrap up what you got to do. Logically says, we'll just slide you up now. It's easy, smart, simple booking. Vintage NXT call-ups.
Sed, let me ask you this question. If this is indeed the pattern that could happen for those in NXT, again, we've already seen kind of that soft call-up for Dragon Lee just a few weeks ago. Now we're seeing this for the Creeds and Ivy Nile. Do you think there will be any other NXT talents that will get a call-up to Raw or SmackDown prior to WrestleMania? Now, I know that's another, 5 months away. Will we see any additional NXT talents make their way to Raw or SmackDown between now and then? What are your thoughts, Sed?
Absolutely, because I think what we're seeing right now is these kind of under the table trades that they're not really announcing. Because how we talked about going to the CW, you want some of that recognizable star power on NXT. So for the Creed brothers, this is perfect timing, because the tag team division is actually rather thin when you talk about traditional tag teams. There are no Usos. There's really just the Street Profits that have been together for a really long time. And then we have the DIY callback. So this is good for a good pathway to TV time. So think about NXT women's division, which is rather deep. I think it's the deepest in the company. People like Elektra Lopez can finally come up. Maybe Kalani Jordan, when you want to build more depth to the division, when you're funneling people back down. So I think I would have to really think about which names stand out right now, because I honestly don't think it'll be like a Breaker or Mello. I think that you need those to kind of carry the flag when they move to a different network next year. But some of the names that have been there a while, that aren't really involved in big storylines, absolutely. I think absolutely you can see them in the Royal Rumble and then doing a stint up until Mania season.
Okay. Magic J, who do you think may get a call up from NXT between now and WrestleMania?
Definitely, the Trick Miller gang and probably Bron Breakker. I want Bron. Like, I've been wanting Bron for months. You know what I mean? That, he never got picked in the draft. He deserves it. He deserves it a lot. You know what I mean? And he'll be doing it honor of his dad and uncle.
Okay, Scan, what do you think?
I've been calling for oh god, as soon as you asked me, his name left my head, but it's the guy that was part of Mustache Mountain with
Tyler Bate.
Tyler Bate, man. That guy is a special wrestler, and I'm just amazed that he's not on the main roster.
Yeah, it's a good call. De La.
Said, what we call Briggs and Jensen? What do we call a bootleg beer money? See, there go the mayor of Pound Town being Mr. Political, being Mr. Diplomatic. There he go. But,
I'm sorry. What was your question? I was trying to help. I was helping a citizen.
I bet you were. No. What do we call Briggs and Jensen back on the podcast?
Alabama boys.
Yep, them two.
Okay.
And actually, let me chime in on this question. I think I agree with the birthday boy. I think Metaphor makes perfect sense just because Dar has spent time on main roster already.
Yes. He certainly has. Certainly that time with the 205 Live space, but then also the things that he was doing with Alicia Fox and all that type of thing. I think, again, this would be a good move for that as well. Let's see. Jeffrey says, we have so many factions with women: the Creeds, Alpha Academy, Metaphor, Brooks and Jensen. Brooks and Briggs.
This man's still going the wrong way.
Jensen. There it is. Jensen and Briggs. I'm like, there's a Jensen in there somewhere. So this is cool. Dylan says, I need Jakara Jackson on all wrestling viewing. I hear you. Bobby says, I think Tiffany Stratton gets a call up in 2024. Yeah, that almost seems like a no-brainer. Let's see. Interesting question here. What if Braun beats Seth at Mania? I guess the question to me is, which Mania? Because I don't see it at
Braun Breaker? Braun
Strowman? I don't see it happening at I don't see it happening at 40. I don't know if it happens at 41 or 42. I think it's going to be a minute before we see that happen. But, it'll be interesting. I think, much to a point that you said, the choices for NXT, to do these kind of moves before we get to Mania, all of these moves have to be very strategic for a simple reason. You just cannot take your top draws and move them from the roster, especially at a time where you're getting ready to go on broadcast TV. Now, what I also think is you get time to build stars between now and then. And I think by the time we get to this time next year, I definitely think Trick Williams could be one of the guys leading that brand a year from now. And there are some other folks that'll still potentially be there. It's just a question of how they build this whole thing. The other thing that I think is interesting is with the addition of, some of the veterans that have made their way to NXT, that might be a way to help stabilize some things as well. So it'll be interesting to see who might get some of these call-ups between now and then. It'll be fun to watch, but
it's happening so smart too. Like
it is.
Like low-key, them putting Tozawa in this NXT capacity is brilliant because he's always been a great wrestler. He used to carry the cruiserweight division, and low-key, I'm gonna stand on this. He has the best German suplex in the business.
Agreed.
So just him being able to work with all this talent right now. And Boza, correct me what they said. They said he had 17 titles title reigns. And I'm guessing
Yeah.
like 90% of those are 24/7 outside of the cruiserweight title. But like
That is correct.
those are important things to like. And he's in very much better shape right now. Just being able to work with some of this younger talent, smart move. They're doing it the right way.
Yeah, I totally agree. The way all of this is happening is very, very good, and I'm happy about this. So, with that said, we're talking about NXT talent, and now it's time to talk about a former NXT talent because it's been almost a year, believe it or not, since Mandy Rose was in NXT and was the NXT Women's Champion before she went off to, dare I say, greener pastures. So the question has come up in terms of whether or not she still has the bug to return to pro wrestling. And she was recently on Busted Open Radio, and she said, to be honest, I haven't really gotten the itch. She said, I'm actually a little surprised. I thought that I'd get it, but I really haven't. I do miss certain things. I miss the camaraderie. I miss my friends. I speak to them a lot. I miss the adrenaline rush. But right now, I don't have an itch to get out there and wrestle. So here's the question on the floor. Is NXT in a space where it still needs the presence of a Mandy Rose? Scan, what do you think?
No way, man. I mean, I think Tiffany Stratton has surpassed her, like in terms of charisma, in-ring ability, I'd even say looks, you know. I mean, she had a good run, man. She had a really good run, but I can't see there being anything else she could actually add to the product.
De La, you've got a look on your face.
So generic blonde 1 leaves, replaced with generic blonde 2.
Wow.
I mean, also, if I was Mandy, I wouldn't get the itch to wrestle and put my body through that when I'm making bank off of my activities and outside ventures. She also has the donut shop with Sonya. So, I mean, she's not hurting for money. Look-wise, she can easily make money. I think this is more so a matter of she got away from it, got over the heartbreak of how it ended, and was like, I'm good. I'm good. Check's still coming in. Check actually looks a little bit bigger now. I'm good. I ain't gonna do all that. I'm good. Like, I enjoy it, but I'm good. So people, you get out that grind, that system, and you're like, I can breathe. I don't have a headache. I just realized I had a headache for all these years. I'm good now.
I get it. Magic J, what do you think? Is there a space right now or a need for Mandy Rose in NXT?
No. If she was to come back here, she might as well come back to Raw or SmackDown, or if she doesn't come back to WWE, she might as well go to another company. She might as well go to WoW, Women of Wrestling or something. You know what I mean? But there's no need, man, because NXT is doing really well right now. You know what I mean? The women's division is okay, but at the same time, nah.
Said?
There are 3 words I think of when I think about Mandy Rose coming back to NXT, and that's finish the story. Mandy Rose has to finish the story. She was so close to becoming the longest reigning NXT Women's Champion. And just because we had some politics over what was being shown online, we got ruined by that. I think they did a good thing with Asuka's recent match with Roxanne Perez, and she's still undefeated in NXT. That's cool. But Mandy was supposed to get so close to Asuka's title reign that it forced Asuka to come back to NXT. I truly believe that. And that would have gave us such good programming in that moment. And if you want to do this on the CW, eventually you want to bring more eyes to the product. Mandy Rose is still a very popular name outside of the wrestling world. I think there's a lot of people that don't even know that she wrestled. So I think eventually they say never say never. So I think eventually she'll get the itch. Eventually she'll come back and they'll work something out. I just have to believe that because she did bring a lot of eyes to the brand. You got to remember, Toxic Traction carried NXT 2.0.
They did.
Yeah.
The 3 of them carried it. The ratings, all that was all Toxic Traction. It wasn't even the men's division. So I have to believe that they look at that past and where they're at and say, hey, there's a mutual benefit here that we can work out.
So it's interesting. Lots of interesting thoughts, of course, in the chat. And so we will get through some of those. Let's see. Boza says she had a great 7-year run. The that ended under weird circumstances. They used her site to fire her, but I wonder if it was because she was under a main roster contract. Bobby says, I get a feeling that she'll come back and go to TNA. That's interesting. And definitely people are agreeing with you that Toxic Attraction brought eyes. And Dylan said he'd love to see a Toxic Attraction babyface version on the main roster. That could be
one of those three characters is floundering right now, and I'll let you guys decide which one.
Well,
real quick.
Well, yes.
Before I get out of here, because I got to slide and go take care of something. So
yes,
before
sir.
I go, we don't need babyface Toxic Attraction. They just don't work as babyfaces. Like Gigi's a dick, JC's a dick, Mandy's the queen of them. Like, it's literally Mean Girls. Nobody would like Mean Girls if you were not Mean Girls. It's just like, okay, if you turn them babyface, who do they go against?
Judgment Day. I don't know.
You know what? On that note, I resigned from my position as Cedric's conscience. The mayor of Pound Town is now left to his own devices. I appreciate.
I forgot all about the conscious thing.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining us, Dayla. We appreciate you, brother.
Shawn Michaels has left the building.
Run in. Jesus. I need better friends.
Oh boy.
Professor, good as always.
Thank you,
nice
sir.
Nice to meet our British partners.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dad, you just bye. Bye.
All right. Be safe, brother. All right. So then the final story, I think, gets very interesting as Shayna Baszler had something very interesting to say about Ronda Rousey. You know, Ronda Rousey and her, of course, were friends for a while, and then she retired Ronda. And she recently spoke to WrestleZone. And in there, this is what she said. And I wish the boss lady was here for this because I could see her fully agreeing. She said, quote, I think Ronda Rousey is underappreciated. I think people like to hate her for whatever reason. It's been that way in MMA. It's because she doesn't mince her words. People like to because they don't like her personally. They like to try to erase what she's done for women's sports, women's combat sports, the UFC and WWE. They like to minimize that just because they don't like her personally, and I think that's a shame. So kind of my final question is, do you think that Shayna Baszler's right? Do you think that people are trying to minimize the contributions of Ronda Rousey because they don't like her, or were her contributions not that significant? Magic J, let's start with you.
To me, it sounds like the whole industry is corrupt because she, from day one, from MMA, UFC, she dominated. You know, if she fought a man in MMA, she'll probably knock him the F out anyway. You know what I mean? So in the day, you know, she is the pinnacle for women wrestlers, MMA, to come out there, and you can't hate on her, man. Just give her gratitude, give her love and respect, man. You know, because she's done her job. She respected Roddy Piper. She took on the baton, and she done her thing. You know what I mean? You can't knock her for what she's done.
Got you. Scan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately for Ronda, man, she's going to be one of those people that, you know, history will be kinder to her. You know, in this present moment, we don't appreciate her. You know, coming from the UK, man, there was a time and space where Ronda was like the face of UFC. Like, she was the biggest fighter in the game. You know, and when she first came to WWE, it was a big deal. You know, she might have outstayed her welcome, or we didn't really warm to her personality, but you can't downplay what she brought to the game. I felt she adapted quite well. you know. So it's a shame, but then at the same time, I feel history will favor her contribution more so than right now.
Okay, that's fair. Said, what do you think?
I think Shayna's 100% right, and I appreciate her keeping kayfabe, saying that they're not on good terms right now because we know they're like best friends. But Rhonda did give a lot to this industry, and maybe some past comments have rubbed people wrong who have been doing this all their life and scratching and clawing to get to those moments. But she not only brought eyes to the brand and women's wrestling, she elevated. There wouldn't be an Evolution pay-per-view without Ronda Rousey's name being attached to it. There wouldn't be a main event of women in WrestleMania without the first one that is, without Ronda Rousey's name being attached to it. And maybe her comments in the past about not having the most respect for the business, or maybe saying it was easy, maybe that people hold on to that too much, but her contributions and how quickly she gravitated to this sport are undeniable. And she kind of put women's wrestling in a better place today with what she's done. And I think people will forgive that with this run that she's about to go on, because she's showing that she loves the business now. Like she'll show that she'll do the dates and things like that maybe other wrestlers have done, and she's going to bring a lot of eyes and a lot of dollars and cents to other promotions with what she's doing right now. I think she does love the industry, and I think that's the distinguishing that people need to understand, is that it's not her fault that WWE gave her all these different positions. She was just doing her job, and she did it well.
She's going to AEW.
Interesting. I don't know if she'll go to AEW, but then again, we didn't think she'd be doing the indies. So Boza said Ronda meant a lot to pro wrestling. I think fans hate her because when she won the Royal Rumble, fans were expecting Mercedes versus Charlotte at WrestleMania 38. Let's see. Dylan says, put some respect on her name. Special Little Nobody says Ronda was a one-trick pony in MMA. It was a good trick, but once people figured it out, the game passed her by. You have to be likable or loved to be hated in wrestling, and she's just not likable. Ronda on the indies is crazy. Dylan says what Seti said, and Boza says, I think WWE loved the four horsewomen of pro wrestling. When the four horsemen of the MMA came to pro wrestling, it's when all bets were off. Interesting. And then if Ronda goes to AEW, Tony will definitely be fearing for his life and safety. And on that note, we are going to wrap things up for this edition. Let's see. DJ Magic J, let the people know how they can reach out to you.
Well, if you want to reach out to me, you can hit me up on all platforms. I am DJ Magic J on my Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter or X is just DJ Magic J. And if you want to hit me up on my wrestling platform with my brother Scandus, is the Mega Powers TV on all platforms, the Mega Powers TV.
Cool. Scan, how can the people reach you?
Yeah, like my brother Magic J said, man, you can reach the both of us at the Mega Powers TV, where you'll see some more amazing content, and that's on all platforms. And if you want to hit me up personally, that's at Scandus. That's SKANDOUZ. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for having us, man. Definitely a pleasure.
Awesome. Said, how can the people find you?
I don't really have nothing to promote, y'all. Somebody find me that pocketless leather jacket that Lexus King was wearing. I need that in the PS5. But you can find me on Twitter at says, that's CEDD_SAYS. Said is the answer on the gram. As usual, support women's wrestling talk and everything. There's a lot of big things coming up. Go on, hit that QR code, go online, find a t-shirt. There are EST or WWT t-shirts. There will be no Pound Town t-shirt, but there's a lot of dope merchandise on there you got to check out for yourself. Cop one. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. There are very, very good t-shirts, incredible t-shirts that are available. Just scan the QR code that you see up on the upper right-hand corner. You can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the spaces. You can check out my commentary work with SHW and IWE on IWTV. My work with Battle Slam is on Fight TV. My work with The Nightmare Factory is on YouTube. And my new work with All Caribbean Wrestling, you can check out at the All Caribbean Wrestling YouTube channel. Had a great time with Mobe Bash this past Saturday. There's more fun things to come. And if you were on the socials anytime yesterday, heard the latest piece of news that I will be working with Ashe Wrestling as well, beginning on December the 1st. Really excited about that opportunity. So some cool things are on the way. Again, all things women's wrestling talk you can check out at WW Talk Pod across all of the socials. And of course, on the website, there are tons of great interviews and great content at www.talkpod.com. Thank you, Dylan, man. Always great to hear from you, and congratulations. Happy birthday to you again. Shout out to everybody in the chat: Bobby, Jeffrey, Boza, JD, special little nobodies. Man, Bobby, I feel like I'm mentioning some names and missing a few, but thank you guys so much for being connected to what we're doing. We absolutely appreciate you. Again, you can always support what we're doing by following us on the socials, commenting, liking, subscribing, and of course, scanning that QR code that you see in the upper right-hand corner. All sorts of great shows happening here, but we will be back as part of WWT Live on Friday with more pro wrestling news. Until then, thank you for tuning in to WWT Live as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.